But you know, Bernie, we want to talk more than about today or even the weekend. We want to look ahead. It's time for the crystal ball.
It's time for the crystal ball. We're going to bring in our long-range expert meteorologist, Joe Lundberg. You know, Joe, it was a couple of weeks ago we were talking about what May would be like, and we would be talking about how the Northeast would go through times where it was going to be cool and then it was going to be warm. We're going to see similar things as we go to next week.
Yeah, if you look at the big picture, the jet stream is going to have this northwest flow aloft quite a bit across the Northeast. Underneath that, you're going to have moisture coming up from the Gulf of Mexico, but only to a point, and it's actually going to be aimed more west than east. That means showers and thunderstorms, at least into the first part of next week, from Texas back into the Southwest. In terms of severe weather, I think that threats east of there. Warm early in the Northeast, then a cool front comes through on Tuesday. That means 2 or 3 days of much chillier weather, but then another front comes through late next week. We'll have to keep an eye on that for severe weather potential. And the Northwest, you're going to be warm and dry. That means melting snow in much of the West. Yeah,
and when you look at the pattern, Joe, as we go through next week, there it is, that rise up of the jet stream in the Northwest keeps that warm air intact. What I do find interesting, though, is certainly the heavy rain in Texas is a problem, but it's a little early to be talking about widespread showers and thunderstorms in the Southwest. The question is, Joe, are they dry thunderstorms? Because the dew points are lower, is there going to be some rain with those?
That's a great question. You know, this area here is going to see some great drought relief at the risk of some flash flooding over the next 3 days. But that moisture doesn't quite go away. You're going to have kind of a broad upper level low in this area, and that's going to pull moisture up from the Gulf of Mexico and throw it back into the southern Rockies and the Southwest. And as you pointed out, the air mass at this time of the year is usually quite dry. Dew points are very low. So you'll get some of this moisture, it gets unstable, you get some showers and thunderstorms, but there may not be an awful lot of rain, and that could lead to some issues with fire. Northwest looks dry, but that northwest flow means a couple of fronts. One early in the week, say Tuesday, another one probably Friday and Saturday. The one Friday, Saturday makes me a little nervous about the threat for severe weather, but in between some very nice weather.
Yeah, overall though, with that northwest flow, Joe, that argues that severe weather shouldn't be widespread and it should be kind of confined from East Texas toward the central Gulf Coast states.
I think that's right. I mean, there may be some of it tries to sneak a little bit farther north and west, but I think after the beginning of next week, it's mostly the I-35 corridor on east, say toward Jackson, Mississippi and New Orleans, and really hardly any severe weather at all across the Midwest and the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley, save for that late week, that Friday, Saturday cold front.
Really quickly, Joe, I want to end with this. You know, there's not much drought across the United States, but the epicenter is certainly in the Southwest Plains. And you know, it's interesting. All droughts, Joe, tend to end in floods.
It's
and look where the drought is,
You know, just looking at this, I mean, this area in here is really going to get hit pretty hard with quite a bit of rain over the next 48 to 72 hours. I mean, there may be some places that are looking at 8 inches of rain. That's obviously going to cause some flash flooding. But the areas up in here, up in, you know, Kansas and points north, they've had the rain, but they're probably not going to see an awful lot going forward. So the drought there is probably not going to get any better in the near-term future.
All right, our long-range expert meteorologist, Joe Lundberg. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, check out these other videos here and be sure to subscribe for new content and the latest weather news from AccuWeather.